The Irish War of Independence, which lasted from 1919 to 1921, was a major conflict between the Irish Republican Army and British forces. The conflict was marked by numerous acts of violence, including bombings, assassinations, and ambushes. One of the most notorious events of the conflict was Bloody Sunday, a day on which British forces carried out a series of deadly attacks on Irish civilians in retaliation for IRA activities. This article will explore the events leading up to Bloody Sunday, the events of the day itself, and its aftermath. Background: the Irish War of Independence was fought between the IRA, which sought to establish an independent Irish state, and British forces, which were determined to maintain British rule over Ireland. The conflict began in 1919, following the establishment of an Irish parliament called Dáil Éireann. The British government refused to recognize the legitimacy of the new parliament and declared the IRA a terrorist organization. In response, the IRA launched a campaign of guerrilla warfare against British forces. The conflict was marked by numerous attacks on British military installations, police stations, and government buildings. The British responded with a campaign of reprisals, which included the burning of Irish villages and the imprisonment and execution of suspected IRA members. Events of Bloody Sunday. Bloody Sunday occurred on November 21, 1920. It began with an operation by the IRA's Dublin Brigade to assassinate a number of British intelligence officers. The operation was successful, and a number of officers were killed. However, it also resulted in the death of one IRA member, who was captured and killed by British forces. In retaliation for the IRA attacks, British forces launched a series of attacks on Irish civilians. The first attack occurred at Croke Park, a football stadium in Dublin, where a match was taking place. British forces entered the stadium and opened fire on the crowd, killing 14 people, including one of the players. The second attack occurred in the afternoon, when British forces raided a number of houses in the city. They killed 15 people, including the Lord Mayor of Dublin, who was shot dead in his own home. The third attack occurred later in the evening, when British forces opened fire on a group of people in the streets, killing one person. Aftermath. Bloody Sunday was a major turning point in the Irish War of Independence. The attacks on Irish civilians by British forces were widely condemned, both in Ireland and internationally. The event further radicalized the Irish population, who saw it as evidence of British brutality and oppression. In response to the attacks, the IRA intensified their campaign against British forces. The conflict continued for another year, until a ceasefire was declared in July 1921. The ceasefire led to negotiations between the British government and the Irish Republican movement, which resulted in the signing of the Anglo-Irish Treaty in December 1921. The treaty established the Irish Free State as a self-governing dominion within the British Empire. However, it also established Northern Ireland as a separate entity, which remained under British rule. The treaty was widely criticized by Irish Republicans, who saw it as a betrayal of their goal of a united, independent Ireland. Conclusion: Bloody Sunday was a tragic event in the history of the Irish War of Independence. The attacks on Irish civilians by British forces were a clear violation of human rights and a major escalation in the conflict. The event further radicalized the Irish population and led to increased support for the IRA's campaign against British forces. The legacy of Bloody Sunday can still be felt in modern-day Ireland, where it is remembered as a key moment in the struggle for Irish independence.